So I thought my pens were pretty cool, but Benji over here has a freaking tub of pencils. That's next level. Well, it looks like we're on to part 3 of our right relationships are more important than being right series. This wasn't intended to be a series. I just sort of started talking and then I kept going. So 2 days ago, I shared this thought that I learned back in 2005, 2006 when I was interning to become a pastor. Yeah, that was ages ago. And one of the things that my mentor taught me was that right relationships are more important than being right. Yesterday, we dug in a little bit deeper and talked about how we can put that into practical application. And the most important and easiest thing we can do is we can learn how to listen. We can listen to what the other person is saying. We can seek to understand their perspective. We can establish context, because when we have context, we know where that person is coming from, and it helps us to understand them better. And in some ways, it'll give us a better insight as to why they are the way they are. I like to use The Office references, and one of my favorite scenes is where Michael goes, "Why are you the way that you are?" And by asking questions, that is an easy way to find out why a person is the way they are. Some of my most favorite people actually started off as people who annoyed the living crap out of me. But I took the time to get to know them, and I started to realize that they had some stuff going on in their lives. You know, and that was the reason why they were the way they were. And it actually made it endearing, and I have this heart to help, and so I was able to invest even more in that person because I saw it and I was like, well, they're not just being annoying for annoying's sake. There's things that are happening in their life, and that's why they're so draining or whatever it might be. And those are the relationships that tend to be the ones that last the longest because you've invested the most, and now they're some of my most favorite people. So take the time to get to know people, get to know them for who they are, and you know, a lot of their personality, a lot of the way they view the world can have been shaped by things that happen in their life. And if you're the type of person that loves to help, then you know that's going to give you the most context, the most material to use to help them become better and to help them overcome sometimes those challenges and issues. So keep that in mind. Now, let's pretend that you're in a conflict situation. Let's say you get an email and now you're just pissed, or you get a text message and you're just, okay, no, that's not okay. Or maybe someone straight up insults you to your face, right to your face. What do you do? Now, the automatic response for a lot of people is to get really angry, and you go straight into your fight state. So if you know the way your nervous system works, there's the sympathetic nervous system and there's a parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is where you can think really clearly, where you're having a good time, you're able to socialize, your body is able to digest. Or sometimes on the other side of the spectrum, it's where your body completely shuts down for the sake of preserving all your energy so your body can survive. That's the oldest trick in the book, Playing Dead, where the body literally, boop, don't do anything else. We need to just preserve life. On the other side, we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is associated with either fight or flight. Those two are actually very different from each other. Fight is where all higher function has been shut off. This is why when you're pissed off and angry, you're not able to think clearly and be able to reason very well. On the other side, we have flight, which is where lots of thoughts happen and you're just kind of, your brain is going a million miles an hour. Not necessarily the best place to be either. We want to be somewhere in the middle of like fight and flow, where you're being social, number one, that's super important. And number two, you're able to think clearly. If you're the type of person that tends to get super angry and that's where you can't think clearly, I would recommend that you step back for a second. So you get an email or a text message that really, really makes you mad, don't respond right away. Let it simmer for a little bit. If you're up here in your fight state, let yourself come down just a smidge so you can start to think clearly and maybe even consider things from their perspective. It's really, really easy to get super defensive when someone comes attacking at you. But if you go attacking right back, that could just cause more damage and can hinder the ability to come to a resolution. So my recommendation is step back. If you are really, really hot, then go express your anger on something else. Go punch a punching bag. Go do a really, really simple exercise where it doesn't require much thought, and just get your anger out. And then let yourself relax a little bit. And then you're going to find that you're going to be a little bit more social. For me, when I need to resolve a conflict, number one, I try to deal with it as quickly as possible. Because the longer that you let it fester, the longer your brain is going to run and create all kinds of options and create all kinds of things that you're going to obsess about, and that's not going to be healthy either. My friend yesterday described anxiety as having too many options and getting overwhelmed by those options. And 90% of those options never happen, so you end up wasting all your energy worrying about things that aren't going to happen. So if you deal with a situation sooner than later, you're less likely to torture yourself in that way. I hope that makes sense. Let's sum this up right now, because I could probably talk forever on this. If you're faced with a difficult situation, if it's something that's made you angry, it's okay to be angry about it, but step away and express that anger in a healthy way. The worst thing to do is to go express your anger on that person and yell at them and say things you don't mean because you're in that fight state and you're not able to think clearly. So take a step back. If you need to, go express your anger on a kettlebell, or grab a baseball bat and a punching bag and just wail on it and just scream it out, cry it out, whatever you need to do, and get to a point where you're a little bit more social. And in that position, in that state of mind, you're able to think more clearly. Okay, so don't get in all hot. If it was an email or a text message, I actually prefer to respond to text messages and emails with a phone call or meet in person, because that's just, there's so much inflection, there's so much context that can be lost over text, and so much room for interpretation. It is a lot better to look at someone face to face, and you can actually blow up the situation out of proportion if you read something that wasn't meant to be read that way. I've read a lot of text messages and emails where it could have gone two different ways, and sometimes I'll assume the worst, and that was not the correct perspective. So if something like this happens, schedule a phone call or schedule a one-on-one meeting and sit face to face. Come ready with questions and shut up and listen, like we talked about yesterday. I hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, post them in the comments, send me a direct message or anything like that. I'm happy to help with that stuff. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye.